All right. So, hello everyone, and welcome back to Factorio. So let's click resume, and last time we left off, we were doing space platform stuff, and what we need is we need to get a supply of coal to Vulcanus so that it can make rockets to launch, which would be very convenient to have. So, we need to figure out either we're upgrading Vulcanus support or we're making a brand new platform from scratch. And both of those definitely have their pros and cons. I think... So the problem with upgrading Vulcanus support is that it also has its travel to do to supply resources back to Novice. And it's also somewhat cramped. So that's the biggest problem, is that we've built a lot of stuff here in a way that doesn't necessarily make it easy to add and expand in the way that we would want to. But it should still be possible, and it's going to save so much foundation and so many rocket launches getting the basics set up that I think we're definitely going to do it. Alright, so you... Okay, wait, no, you're at Vulcanus now. We need you to head back to Novice so that you can get repaired and rebuilt for the future plans. So we didn't quite get everything launched down to Vulcanus properly. Probably should have let it sit there for a bit longer, but it'll be fine. Alright, something wacky's going on with this. Okay, it's nothing, it's just in the process of building stuff. And you are currently stuck above Novice because you're not quite functional in terms of your power supply. But hopefully that project is going to be set on the back burner for a little bit, because we need to get this one going first. Alright, so we've got a whole lot of metal, not much carbon. So we might need to add more. Gosh, it's windy out. Alright. Yeah, we might need to add more recyclers into this system than just like the, 2 of each that we have. And we should be able to fit some more in this area, maybe. I don't know. Well, that'll be something which we work on once this is all set up. Alright, so that is heading back. Meanwhile, on Novice, Gleba support has just dropped off some stuff. And now it's headed back. Alright, so that's all fine. And the transport platform is just doing its thing, waiting above Novice, in case I need to go anywhere personally, which I currently do not. And it looks like we actually have, at least for now, a decent supply of all the resources to launch rockets from Novice. So that hopefully will make this upgrade relatively painless. But we'll have to figure that out once we start doing it. The travel delay is certainly inconvenient. We're going to need a lot of storage, actually, in order to store all the coal slash carbon slash whatever that we need to be doing. So the big question is, do we convert the stuff down into coal before sending it down, or do we just do this stuff on Vulcanus? And I feel like since it requires... I feel like we probably... it probably shouldn't be too hard to get this done on the space platform itself, and it would save a whole giant step. So let's actually get this set up for when that becomes the case. So you are going to get this in and delivering as much coal as possible. Apparently we had 240 some. Not sure how that got there, but whatever. And then you get a bulk inserter. Alright, so that will actually provide a bit of coal in the short term, but more importantly, that is set up now so that when we have coal coming down from the space platform, we can send it off properly. Alright, so this is almost back. And we're going to need to add a lot of cargo bays and a decent chunk of crushers, probably. And then we're going to have to add... But this stuff is chemical plants, right? Yeah, it's chemical plants to make that. So that should be easy. And this actually... Just confirm. So yeah, so this is converting like 3 units of stuff into like 0.5 units of stuff. So it'll be more space efficient on the platform in terms of storage space to convert it down to coal first. Alright, so you are just about there. Now we're going to pause the thrust so that you can stop here. Okay. So, first off, let's get more cargo bays in. So we're going to have to remove some of these solar panels, and I think this area over here is going to be where we start working on this at least. So we're going to add a whole giant chunk of cargo bays in there so that we have all the space we could ever want. Next step is we need to... Honestly, we just need to do this sort of thing to get the asteroids down and then send them back up into the loop later. So hopefully that will be fine. And I guess we should probably start working backwards. So what I want is I want a lot of coal, preferably like a belt or so of it. So let's start by placing these guys in, and they're gonna have to expand in some direction. If we place them back here, then they can expand downwards and not be too wide. So you actually need to be slightly further back so that the output belt can go in. So you are there. Then this output belt goes up to here. And you are set to make coal synthesis. Alright, so then we're going to have... Are we going to have a bunch of beacons on this? This is going to make this a whole giant power demand if we do that. But is gonna be pretty awful otherwise in terms of space. So I guess we get you. You get the recipe. And we need to get beacons delivered up here. And do you have modules up here? No, you don't. I think I might have just dropped some off. So let's get productivity modules in those machines, just so we can see what the sort of minimum supply ends up looking like. Alright, so that is the beacons. And theoretically we should be seeing modules. Yeah, we have 2 rockets launching with modules. Fortunately, this first bit is going to be a little bit faster than usual because we had those built up rockets ready to go. Alright, I want to get the modules in just so I can see what the numbers look like. And actually, that's going to involve you getting some speed modules as well. So this will be the sort of average chemical plant. Alright, so the productivity modules are here. Now the speed modules are here. So the average chemical plant makes 1.1-ish. Why is that flickering? So yeah, the average chemical plant makes 1.1-ish, which means if we want a lot of these, we're going to need a lot of chemical plants. So let's just dismantle that, and then we can expand this down. Like that. And I don't know, something like that, let's say. And that is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so like 8-ish coal per second, which is very much not fantastic. It's not awful by any means. It's not awful, but it's not great either. So we're probably going to need more. And how much is the input demand actually? So our belts here can do 45, or if we use the fast ones, 60 items per second. And these are taking like 5, so that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. Alright, so we can copy a big chunk of this further. And it's going to be a little bit wacky looking, but whatever. So that hopefully will provide enough final product. So this, yeah, it seems like the numbers change based on how messed up the power is, actually, which is a little bit worrying. Alright, I don't know why. Oh, it's because we took down a bunch of the solar panels, I guess, to make this. So yeah, we're going to need more solar panels as well. That's obvious. We're going to need this belt of outputs. And then we're going to need 2 belts of inputs, which means that we're going to have to take that stuff down Alright, so input belt number 1 is going to be going along this way. Then we have input belt number 2. And then we have a gap. And we have our pipe, which goes in that way. Alright, so now we need to get all this stuff hooked up. So that, and that, and that. Now let's just copy paste that, and then copy paste that, and then just pop this in every so often. Alright, so now we have all of those set up. We need to fill in that chunk of foundation. And this is going to be what we work with, probably. I don't like that the numbers fluctuate. I would rather they didn't do that. Alright, let's get more solar panels up then, because apparently that is going to be absolutely necessary. So the solar panels can just go in there, sort of filling in the extra space like that. And if we get rid of those, we can save some foundations, because this can be external. Alright. So hopefully that can get launched up pretty soon. We've got a whole bunch of rockets. And we are just missing the foundations as usual. So if we check on here, this is currently inactive, which I should probably just fix. So we needed the steel for other things, but now I think we need foundations again. And this guy is not doing all that much foundation crafting because of its own power problems. Alright, so that is going. And this is all set up. And we just need all of this stuff. Okay, it looks like we do have occasional iron disruptions here on Novice, which is not ideal. So yeah, we can see there the ore production stopped temporarily, which is pretty bad. And this is all set up. How much power is this relative to what we're using? So this is like 480 kilowatts. So like the 3 or 4 solar panels directly behind it cover it. This one not so much, but it's probably fine with a bit of extra coverage. We should be fine. Alright, so that is that. Then all this stuff still needs foundations before it can get built. And Novice is producing foundations again. And the foundation crafter is very much not. So let's see if we can get you going again. Off you go. See if you can avoid getting obliterated during the trip. That would be nice. Alright, so you're off doing your thing. Meanwhile, back on Novice, we are slowly but surely making foundations. And apparently we don't have enough of basically anything to launch at the moment. And that's why we created the Foundation Crafter in the first place, to prevent stuff like this from happening. I just wish it were in a less dysfunctional state. Alright, so while that's going, I suppose we can do some design on these. So, how... we have similar machines down here, right? They're not beaconed, though. We can make that happen relatively simply. Alright, so I hit the wrong button. So we take one of those out, take another one of those out, and then we just have to put beacons in their place, and speed module the beacons, and productivity module that machine, which is the one I'm interested in, because it's the one that's going to have the expected number of beacons. Alright, so this is what we're looking at when it's actually doing its thing. And we did manage to launch a rocket, so that's good. We're making slow progress. So we need just about 1 and 5 per machine and 10 water. So let's go back up to Vulcanist support. So if we need 1 sulfur, 5 carbon per machine, that's going to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. So yeah, that is 60 carbon and what? What's 60? 12? 60 carbon, 12 sulfur is what we need. So now we get to see what a crusher can do. So you are going to be making both. And you can do 1.1 and 0.4. Okay, so we're going to need 24 of these to get the sulfur. But we can make it more efficient with some modules. But these guys are massive power hogs, so we might need to do efficiency modules on them. Alright, let's have that row just be over here. Actually, do we need more space on that side? Probably do. So we're going to have that like this. And you are doing advanced carbonic asteroid crushing. So you have an input belt of asteroids on this side. Then you have your output to 3 separate things, I guess. Okay, we need... I don't know why I dismantled that foundation. We need one of them to be going to a different belt. So you go out like that. So then this So this outer belt just loops back around into you and gets input prioritied. And then this inner belt is going to be the carbon and sulfur, which goes across that way, over this way, and then it splits. Actually, since these are going to the same machines, they might not even need to split. Who knows? We'll figure that out. I think I want you to be like that. And then those inputs go in. Alright. So now we just need to get the right number of machines. And actually, if we go over here, do you have... You use all efficiency moduled crafters, so it is actually just going to be the base rate. Alright, that is actually very convenient. So we'll start by throwing those in. And then what we said we needed... We said we had 12 of these, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have 12 of these, each taking approximately 1-ish sulfur. So let's get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Alright. So then we have that, which is our input belt, goes down this way. And all of these guys are going to get connected up. Like that. And let's get those extra foundations in, because we know we're going to need them. Alright. So then, actually what we just need to do is... we just need to get this set up so that it can tile easily. And we need to get these filters in. So you are going to be filtering out carbonic asteroid chunks, and you guys are going to be filtering out coal and sulfur. So we just do something like that, and then we can copy paste this entire thing. And wait, I should get the settings pasted. Alright, so now that whole thing is copy pasted. And these all go in like that. Alright, so that is step 1. That is the sulfur and a decent chunk of the carbon. Then I didn't get the efficiency modules in, which we're definitely going to need. Alright, so those guys all get efficiency modules. So now this whole thing is set up. And what is going on? Okay, so Foundation Crafter took some damage again. But it seems like this time we had the supplies to repair it at least. Yeah, okay, that's not ideal. So you can just pause thrust, and we're gonna just drift back to novice. Looks like we do have some ability to shoot down these things, but not great. Alright, so you should, at least because of this, have the supplies to craft a whole bunch. Yeah, we have hundreds of foundations now. So that part of the plan works properly. It's just the having enough power to produce everything and survive, which is probably the issue. Although maybe we just straight up don't have enough ammunition production. I don't know. We'll have to investigate in a future trip once we have even more solar panels on this thing. For now, we've got a whole bunch of space platform foundations up here. And I guess we are just gonna send them down. So yeah, let's just send all those guys down. And then you can just keep producing more, that's fine. So that should let us launch a bunch of rockets up here, which we probably have to spare. Alright, there we go. And now we can start loading up all these rockets and get the Vulcanist support built pretty quickly. Alright, so that is a whole lot of extra foundation production. So, with this road done, this is going to be okay. The power is still. Why are these showing 0.44? If I check where these things are, like over here, it might be just a power problem. So if we go over here to this one, you have some of that stuff in here, right? You've gotta. No, there's no sulfur at all there. Alright, what about Gleba support? This place gotta have sulfur, right? Yes. Alright, no, this is apparently just what it looks like, which means I must have. I don't know how I managed to hallucinate that these were twice as effective as they were. Alright, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 of those, and 12 of those. So we're going to need another 12 of these in order to keep up correctly with the sulfur. And then we'll probably need even more beyond that, but that should be a decent start at least. Alright, so that goes in there. And we need to finish that belt in. There we go. So we are still launching up more. How much spare do we have right now? We have 514 on the planet. So not enough to finish everything, but at least enough to make some progress. Alright, so that is going in. While that happens, this is 24 of these, which should be just shy of 12 sulfur. And these guys are going to need like exactly 12 sulfur. How's the power doing here? It's fine sometimes, except for when it feels like spiking up and doing stuff. Okay, so we have all this in. We're gonna need just like a couple additional of these So you go in like that. It feels like there's a gap somewhere. Like these guys are more compact than these ones are. Not sure how that happened. Oh, I think I just missed a row. Yeah, I just missed a row. Alright, so that needs another one of those. And another one of those. And this should be enough of everything. Now, I don't know why we don't have any chemical plants up here. There are 32 available on the planet, and it says that we don't need any. Oh, because these are crushers, right, obviously. So the crushers, we've got 10 on the planet. Those will probably launch at some point. Alright, so how much is this total? 1, 2, 3. Actually, can I... Is this going to show me? Yes. So this is 29. 29 crushers. Let's just round that up to a nice even 30. Just so that we have a clean number. And there we go. Copy all that stuff over to here. Alright, so we have 30 crushers times 0.44 is going to be, well, it's going to be 4.4 times 3, which is going to be 12 point something. So we should be fine on the sulfur demand. And then it's also 1.1 carbon. So 30 times 1.1 is going to be 33. And I think we'd calculated that we need like 60 carbon. So now we just have to tack on. Okay, so this one belt is handling 12 sulfur, 33 carbon, so it's actually going to need to be a turbo belt up at the top, and then we're going to need a second belt to add the additional carbon onto. So let's get a crusher, and this part should be relatively easy because this is like 5.5. So we're gonna need what, like another how much? This is 33 carbon. We need 60, so we need another 5. If we get another 5 of these, is that right? Because 6 would be too many, right? I guess we can just do 6 and then just not worry about it. Alright, so as for the spacing of this, we actually need to work that out. So we need this belt to go down to there. And then this is the belt where our new carbon will come in from, which we'll have to wrap up here and along this way. And then this would need to be input priority right, I think, to get the carbon from here so that we don't get sulfur jammed. I think that should work. And then we can just get in our crushers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's more compact, so we might as well do it that way. And now these have their output, which is just going to be carbon. There we go. So we have that. Then they have their input, which is, of course, going to be carbonic asteroids going across this way. And then they have their output, which is going to be carbonic asteroids going along that way. Okay, so these lower two are actually gonna have a bit of an issue with that. Okay, yeah, so we just need to make this lined up differently. 5, 6, and then this belt is going to need to stay up here for a little bit longer. If it goes like that, then it'll work. Alright, so we have that. Next, we need these guys to output up to this top belt. But only the carbonic asteroids, which are here. And we get those settings in, and now this should be all set. So you then just get basic processing, and you get some efficiency modules so that I don't die of power demand. Then we have this loops back around to there with input priority right. And this, okay, actually we can just set this to filter. Wait, no, we can't do that, because that would then prevent any carbonic asteroids from ever going over there. So what we need is for this chunk to... we need this to somehow split here. Okay, wait, I think I know. So we filter here. Carbonic asteroids out, and output to this side. Then this side can go up to there, and will that work? So carbonic asteroids go down this way. Non-carbonic asteroids, let's see if we take that out. We'll go over here, and they've jammed. Of course they've jammed. Why? Oh, because there's not enough space for the carbon asteroids to go this way. Okay, so what if you do actually exist like that? So now the carbonic asteroids will go down here, and let's just dismantle that to destroy those couple of extra types. And this will backlog until it's full. Okay, I think this works. I think this works. So now we just take this over here, and we split you up so that half of you go that way, and half of you come down this way. And that is that. Alright, now we need to deal with the power situation and get this thing a supply of asteroids to work on. Okay. Do I want you to do any input priority stuff? No, I think you're fine as is. We might need to expand this out further to get more recyclers for the other types of asteroids. guess we'll figure that out in a minute. Alright, so the foundations are showing up. We need 400 some. Foundation Crafter is doing its thing. Very slowly. Okay, actually this looks like this is... Yeah, so the recycling system has failed here. So, what went wrong? You are trying to output onto the same belt you took from. Alright, I think I know how to fix this. It's pretty easy. If we had space for it, at least. So we're going to need to shove some things around in order to get the space. So those two belts need to go over that way. This steel belt, which I don't know why it even has a splitter there, needs to move up this way. Just to get a little bit of space. Then that all goes out, and that's connected back up again properly. Alright, so those solar panels need to go out. So now we have this as the output. And it can go back in with an input priority right. And now these guys all get their outputs. Like that. And problem solved. Now we can do our recycling properly to get some foundation crafting going. Alright, so that is that. Novice is still losing drones, but we're also crafting drones, so it's fine. Okay, how are we losing that many drones, though? Like, what is going on? Is it drones being dumb and flying over an active battlefield again? Probably. Well, this is, again, why we have literal thousands of drones. So I'm not exactly worried about it. I'm more worried about the laser turrets. We've got 50 laser turrets in storage, though, so that's probably also fine. Okay. So here's something we can do for Vulcanist support, at least. These guys don't have modules, so they can be more efficient. These guys don't have modules, so they can be more efficient. You can be more efficient. I guess all this stuff down here we can make more efficient if it doesn't have any modules. And same thing with you guys. These can't be moduled, unfortunately. Alright, so that is fine. And you have just apparently launched out a rocket full of foundations, which is quite helpful. So back up on Vulcanist support. We actually do have some stuff going on here. Okay, no, not you. That was the wrong machine. You need to be like that. You're the one who needs the output. Alright, so let's get all these outputs in, because I realized that I forgot to do them. So a whole bunch of outputs. There we go. Then, the only thing that we're theoretically missing is a couple of these belts to get the sulfur connected across. And also, just like this crusher for some... Oh, I think I know why that crusher. Yeah, this whole area needs to be internal. Alright, so that is that. And apparently we need to get some of that done there as well. there. And the rest of this mostly looks finished. Alright, one last step. One last step of actual design to do, and it is the water. So we have 12 of these with 10 water each, so we need like 120 water. And we've got this nice convenient water pipe. So let's get a machine in over here. So you're going to be doing ice melting, and that's 20. So we're going to need just 6 of these. 4, 5, 6. Get those pasted across. Get the water connected up. And then this pipe is going to have to go underground. I don't know how far underground pipes can go, but they can certainly go farther than that. So that is the water pipe hooked up. So now we just need to get ice cubes into this, which goes down like this. And then they just get their input. And now we just need our ice cubes. So we have 6 of these, 4, 5, 6, which means we need 6 ice cubes, which I think is not that many, hopefully. So if we just get a crusher up here, you're going to do nothing but ice cubes, then you're like 3. So we just get 3 of these guys in. And then we just go like that. Okay, so let's make this whole area internal so that it'll automatically be constructed, and then we have this. So you get ice cubes down there. You are going to output the ice cubes up this way. Then we have to do our loop back, which gets input priority. Then those go in, and these go in, and these get their filters for asteroid chunks. And these get filters for ice cubes. Ooh, plastic bar productivity. That's pretty neat. So let's take, I don't know, something that's gonna take a while but be worth it. Let's do epic quality. So that could just be researching in the background. And at some point I'm gonna want to start messing around with quality stuff. I have an idea of how to do it using space stuff, but we obviously need to get that set up first. Alright, so now all we need is to put 20 trillion efficiency modules in all these machines, like that. And then we need to get oxide asteroid chunks into there. So let's get another one of these guys in, and you are going to filter out oxide asteroid chunks to this way, and then this will loop back like that and keep the rest of them going. Now, will this work? I don't know. I'm not 100% confident. If one of the types of chunks backs up, then there might be an issue. So if the oxide asteroids back up to here, then it might obstruct the carbon asteroids. So yeah, that'll actually definitely happen. So how do we fix that? So we definitely don't want that to happen. Okay, maybe... I wish these splitters were a little bit smarter. Can we actually... They can be given power line connections. So let's... What do we even connect you to? I guess we can just connect you to that. Alright, so yeah, we can do these splitters with this. So you are going to be set output side or set filter. Okay, so what we need to do is get a decider combinator, and the decider combinator, let's move that connection. The decider combinator is going to read this, and it's going to read belt contents and hold. Okay, so if we just hold it at this position, then connect you back to there. So it should only filter the ice cubes through here if... It should only filter the ice cubes through here if there's nothing in this. So if oxide asteroid chunk is greater than... greater than 1... Okay, actually, I think if this is 3 at rest, I would like to see another oxide asteroid get through here. Alright, so if this is 3 at rest, then that should be fine. So then you output oxide asteroid chunk, and then set... We have to do set filter, but how does that... I don't understand how that works. Oh, I see. So that's just going directly across to there. We don't want that. We want it to be like the inverse of that. Alright, I think we actually need a math thing. Oh wait, no, actually. Yeah, no, we need a math thing probably. Or do we? Wait. No, I think we can just do it with green wire. So if you're connected up to that, then you need to be if you're less than 1. Alright, so if the number of oxide asteroids are backed up to here, then this won't accept any more. And then let's just add a couple of U, so now it does. So that should be functional. And we just need to get this over where it needs to be now. So you just go all the way over through this. And right, so now we're going to be going off the edge of the platform, so we need to do it like this, and then hold shift. And then you go down. That's actually slightly space inefficient, so let's take that top row out. then this whole internal area is going to be covered in. And somehow that got dismantled. Alright. So, now is this going to cause problems? Maybe, but hopefully not. Alright, so that is all in. And we are just waiting on this chunk over there. So the foundation crafter, it's got a whole lot of foundations on it. So let's give you more power production, because you apparently still need more. And that gap has to exist because we need to be tossing some stuff out into space over there. So we get all this stuff in, and that's going to use up a lot of its stores of foundations. But it should provide the supplies. So hopefully with that extra power, this processing will be able to function and keep a steady ammo supply. I wonder if we just need to like make these belts longer so that they can store more stuff that way. Alright, so this apparently is capped out at 154. So let's set that to like 150 so we only leave if we have a completely solid supply of ammunition. And I mean, this thing is like pretty much one of my major sources of foundations at this point, if I can just get it to run. So it's got some supplies for repairs if we need them. So let's have you go out on another expedition. Meanwhile, Vulcanist support is 270 short of those, 6 short of those. It's actually weird. Is Crusher's supply having some issues? Yes, not enough electric motors for more Crusher production. Well, that's concerning. Electric motors are not getting any green circuits because... Okay, I guess that's pretty much fine. So the green circuits are temporarily all going to solar panels, but they should make it back to the electric motors soon. And once that happens, they're straight into the passive provider chest as their first priority. And that should be totally okay. Yes, we got one there. And we occasionally get some of these guys through as well. And once the solar panels stop running, which should be quite soon, then we're going to get even more. Or if we get massive bursts like that, I guess. Alright, the epic quality research is going. It's doing its research as we expect it to be. So that's cool. Over here we have this getting all set up. And okay, now we need you. We need to actually have this go in. So we just need a couple of these and a couple of bulk inserters. And yeah, these don't need a combinator thing. These just need to be directly connected to you. Alright, so that's stuff going wrong on Novice. That's fine. So these guys are connected up. You need to be enable, disable if sulfur is, or no, not sulfur. We're going directly to coal here. Coal is less than, let's start with like 1,000. So there we go. So that should be all set up. And we are going to have to worry about what happens when the carbon fills this side of the belt. Now, hopefully, these machines will preferentially take from that side of the belt and it'll be okay. But I don't know if we can rely on that being how that works. Alright, so over here on Foundation Crafter, we are actually... Okay, we're doing better in terms of power. We're doing better in terms of power. And... yeah, so the solar power situation changes between Novice and Gleba. I don't know which one's better. Apparently Gleba is better for solar power, so that's nice. Okay, apparently though you've stopped. Why have you stopped? Because this system has gotten jammed again? Okay, so that system has gotten jammed again. Which means we need... yes, we don't have enough ice cube. We have too much of this, and it's backing up all the way to here. Okay, so how much spare constructions? We have 34 belts. If we can make this happen with 34 belts, that would be pretty neat. Do we have underground belts? Do we have underground belts? No. We have no underground belts, which actually is gonna make this impossible, I think, because we need to go under this steel belt somehow. Unless there's like a random extra underground belt somewhere that we aren't using, but I don't think we have anything like that. Alright, so this platform, I guess it's just kinda... okay, we can do that, and let's have you swap to heading back to Novice. Alright, so we can just like manually clear out the belts so that it unsticks for a bit. And then I wonder, is there any way of getting this one to go direct across? Because that would also solve the problem, I think. If we could just have this supply of ice bypass it. But I don't know if it does. I don't know how possible that is. Okay, back over on Vulcanist support. Only 124 foundations to go. We seem to have done it in the way where this stuff gets built up absolutely last, which is fine. We do have a significant backlog of sulfur and carbon now, which is fine by me. Alright, so we need to figure out how to do this. And you are making it. So you're going to be back at Novice, and then we can fix that design flaw. So we just need to get this belt all the way over to there. So we're just going to like go down there, go under that steel belt, under the steel belt again, and then we'll be in. Alright, so you're stopped at Novice, so we're going to pause thrust again. Alright, so that belt can go like that. Then this comes down here. And okay, we actually need some circuit network stuff in order to not throw away perfectly good stuff. So you get a filter, and that filter is gonna be, well, actually, hang on. The filter is gonna be calcite. And then we have the circuit network, which apparently we can't manually connect far back enough. So we want to like read the circuit all the way up there to determine what we're doing. And I guess we can just like hijack it along this other random belt. We could bring power lines up here to do it, but that would be kind of ridiculous. So we need it to be traveling on belts that are never going to have calcite on them. Alright, so this one over here, you are set to read belt contents and hold. And so you are set filter like that, and then that goes up to there. Alright, so all of these guys aren't enabled and doing anything. We're just hijacking the circuit connection along there. Okay, this... Wait, does this actually work? Because this is going to send these guys out whenever there's something there, even temporarily. Alright, we need a way of preventing that from happening then. Which is going to require some logic, I think. How do we do that? Okay, maybe we can like do some math between two separate locations. No, that's not going to work. I don't know. It's going to be an issue. So, how do we solve that issue? Cyan, hello. We're working on some of our space platforms as usual. Currently, we're trying to make sure that we don't get this calcite backing up, but the way we've done it here is not quite correct. Yep, we're actually building a couple different things simultaneously here. So this guy, we're trying to... So the calcite here was backing up and preventing this splitter from getting ice cubes through here, which was getting the entire thing stuck. But now the way I've done that is it just doesn't build up any calcite here, which I do want to have some calcite build up just so that we don't run dry, because we're actually outputting more calcite here than we're inputting. So that's not going to be quite correct, so let's just disable that temporarily while we think. So how do we do this? We need a way of telling that it's just sitting here instead of actively just temporarily passing through. I guess actually this is easier. We can do hold all belts, and then we're going to need a logic machine. Where are you? Decider combinator. Alright, so the decider combinator can go in and it can get connected up to this thing. So you need to be disconnected from there. So you input there. And you get to learn how much stuff is here. So you are going to say if calcite is somewhere in here. There you are. If calcite is less than, let's say, 10, then you output... No, wait. So this needs to be greater than. So if calcite is greater than 10, then you output a calcite signal, which goes down to there and sets its filter to accept calcite going through. So if this area gets calcite backed up to 10 or more, then it will just throw calcite away until it gets down to 10. And that's probably not the most convenient way of doing that, but it should be mostly functional. Alright, meanwhile, we're still here stuck at novice without any fuel in the chemical plants. We do have a chunk of water to get us moving, though, so it's like probably fine. So we're gonna send you off again and see if you get more success there. Now we're gonna go back to here, and all this stuff. Right, so that is the one which needed to be assigned. So now this whole section gets filled in. And so that should get us our ice cubes, it should get us our water. And now we just need that to be connected properly. Alright, so ice cubes go, they turn into water, which then turns all this stuff into coal. Alright. So that is that. Now, the power demands... What the heck happened there? There's a brief moment where all the chemical plants were running and it was catastrophic, apparently. So, we're probably going to need... We're probably going to need more solar panels. And we're going to need to expand the outer shell out to protect us once more, now that this entire left half is built. Meanwhile, the foundation crafter is off for another trip. And how is power doing for you? Suspiciously well, I would say. It probably shouldn't be using that little power. I must have broken something. What have I done? Oh, I see. Okay, so this is all messed up. What were you even doing? What is all this? Okay, so you are trying to filter out this stuff at this point, and that's not working apparently. So we need to, let's see if we just like reboot that, then it should work maybe, but it seems like it probably isn't. Is there any just random output belt that we can shovel this stuff onto? Not immediately. Alright, so you... Why are you like this? Because these Oh, because these inserters mostly take from the near side of the belt, maybe? But this is outputting all onto the far side of the belt. That could be it. Yeah, that's definitely what's happening. Alright, so that's actually a very easy fix. We just need to swap belt side here. So this goes up like that, and then in like there. So now that is going, and if we just set you up to that, and you might also, just to make absolutely sure, we might also set this up like that. No, that's backwards, right? Yeah, that's backwards. Okay. We need to set this up the other way. So that way is a little bit more complicated, I think. We need to, like, loop around it like this. Alright. I feel like the lights in my room just flickered. So I don't know if we're, like, moments away from losing power or something, but in case I'm not just hallucinating, that's a heads up for you. Although my computer didn't go down, which is nice. Alright, so this should be functional again. Now it also looks like... No, okay, so the iron supply is fine, the copper supply is fine. We're actually just cooking here. Alright, it looks like the production here is actually going very well, which is a bit surprising, but the ammunition supply is still not enough. Okay, so we need more ammo, and this stuff just being a whole bunch of carbon is definitely not helping. So, how do we prevent that? This guy is... Okay, he's sometimes output full, sometimes input full. That's somewhat of an entertaining problem to have. So let's just upgrade you to a bulk inserter so that so the output full half of that isn't a thing. And then we need to... Okay, just at a glance, it looks like we still have way too much carbonic asteroid and not enough oxide asteroid. So let's just swap another one of those over and see if that helps turn the tide of our eternal fight against carbonic asteroids filling everything up constantly, because we don't use them in large quantities like we do the other types. Alright, it looks like looks like the Foundation Crafter has decided to head back to Novice. Okay, I actually weirdly don't see... Oh, right, this is using its own foundations to build those extra solar panel spots. Okay. So the solar power is better nearer to Novice than it is to Gleba. So that's something to consider. I don't know whether that means we should work this out. Actually, we might be able to... It would be more efficient probably for this to travel between Novice and Vulcanus. Actually, let's check the... That might actually just be better in a couple of ways. So this one's got more metallic asteroids. So it's like metallic, asteroids, then carbonic, then oxide. Whereas novice to gleba is the same, I guess. I guess that's not going to be a difference that we get to make, but the power demand should theoretically be better along that route. So we're going to take that out and put in Vulcanus. And you are going to wait for 120 seconds, and our circuit condition here that we have to prevent us from leaving where we don't have enough ammo or anything, probably. Alright, so that is that. This looks better. So this is all backlogged, but the ice cubes here aren't necessary and are just being sunk. So as long as this is just like this and we have all that stuff in, then we're good. Alright. So that's going strong. We still have 20 billion carbonic asteroid chunks. We probably need even more crushers dedicated to getting rid of them. But the power demand is a lot better than it has been in the past. We added a whole bunch of efficiency modules onto things that were previously unmoduled, so that seems to have helped. Alright. So that's going. We have enough iron. We haven't got enough plate production. So that seems to be the limiting factor for our ammunition at this point. And it does look like it is somewhat sketch in terms of ammo production. Alright. Oh wait, does that need to be ore? Do these need to be ores or ands? How does this signal work? So we get, if we are low on carbon and we have, alright, I think that needs to be an and actually. So in order for this to signal that we should leave, we need to be both low on carbon, because that's our last one that's going to be recycled, and have enough firearm magazines to make the trip. Then this will go if that's greater than 1. Alright. Cool. So that's all functional. And we really need to get even more carbon crushers out of this. Although, I suppose if everything is functional, like this has enough iron, this has enough copper, so like, I guess it's fine. The current recycling rate is apparently quick enough. Oh boy, Novice is getting blown up. Wonderful. In there? Okay, that's kind of a weird spot, but whatever. Okay, they're sneaking through these solar panels, which is actually great for me because it means I know exactly where they're going to be in the near future. Okay, that's not ideal. Yeah, no, that's pretty bad. I don't have any ammo on me. Wait, I'm near a tank, right? We have tank production over here. Okay, I can solve this. Give me a tank. Give me some shells. I need to get the tank down there through the giant mess of factory without just bulldozing stuff. Which is not ideal at all. Alright, where did they go? Well, that's concerning. There is like a behemoth spitter and a bunch of other guys around here. I guess the laser turrets... I thought these wouldn't get powered, but I guess the solar panels here did enough for that. Alright, so where those guys came in from down here. And power is still doing fine. So if they came from down here, then we need to get defenses down here. So let's set that up. I don't know how exactly they got to like this general area. This is yet another reason number 270 billion of why I need to get artillery up and running. Alright, so let's get those in and just give them a little bit of walls just so that they don't instantly fold, because we are dealing with apparently behemoth biters. Alright, so that is dealt with. Research is still going. So this place is fine. It doesn't have much... It doesn't have quite as much power production as the Foundation Crafter place does. Alright, let's see here. You have all of the foundations that you need, right? So you can send those guys down, and then we can go to Vulcanist support, and let's see. So step 1, I think we want to copy paste this giant solar panel bank over to here. So we can just pop that in right there, and that's going to use up a lot of space platform foundations, but hopefully we have enough now. So Foundation Crafter is off to go collect more stuff, and we'll see if it can survive the trip. There's a couple knobs we can twist to get this going better, like swapping these from productivity modules to just like more speed modules or something to get the iron plates producing faster. And we can also potentially squeeze a beacon in here somewhere to get these guys going faster if that becomes the bottleneck. Alright, so over here on Vulcanist support, this is all getting built. And now what we need is we need to get our, where is it? Space platform exterior blueprint. And this is set up differently from how the rest of this stuff is, so that's annoying. Alright, so this, we're going to need to give it a bit of space to there so that we can have these annoyingly twist over in like that. And what's going on? Novice is being attacked again, but it's in a defended area, so it's fine. Alright, so then that is all set up. So now we can just paste our space platform exterior blueprints everywhere, and it'll be fine. Assuming that this is, yes, this is set up facing the right way. So you go like that, and then we bring these guys down this way, and it's really quite annoyingly long, but not that bad. So then you go out to here to cover the back and all the way up to there. Do I need to cover this angle? I might, honestly. It'll be fine, probably. No, I will do it just to make sure. So this chunk is all gonna get disabled, and then we get this blueprint, which we're gonna need to wrap around again. So you go out like this, and that is the ammo belt, right? Yes. Okay, wait, no, this blueprint is backwards. So we need to flip you vertically. And then place you in like that. Alright, so that is that. And then the ammo belt goes underground for a little bit, so that this can come out to here. And go like that. Alright. So now that we have that, we can once again just place these blueprints, and yeah, let's go one more there. This isn't gonna perfectly line up because I didn't do it entirely with these, but it should be close enough. So that corner goes in, then we have to get this corner. And I believe we need to get this corner up here as well, and I think the last corner we already did. Yeah, that corner's done, and it's a little bit sketch, but hopefully it'll be fine. We actually have more ammunition production here than the other one, although I don't know if we have more iron plate production, which might be the limiting factor. But it should be fine anyways. So now we just have to wait for a pretty insane 1.2k of that. Alright, so now we go over here. This is doing its thing and seems to have jammed. Alright, this is actually... We've jammed with too much iron. Okay, so in order to fix that, we're going to need to understand what the absolute heck I did here. So I guess the easy thing would be we just have to set up another one of these things to throw some stuff away if we have too much. So that can actually just be an inserter. So we can just put a bulk inserter there and then filter you. Alright, so now you're connected up to the circuit network, and you are going to be enable disable if metallic asteroid chunk is greater than... Wait, how did I do this on the other thing? Over here. We needed to have a decider combinator. Okay. So you get a decider combinator, and you're going to be connected up to no, wrong. So you aren't connected up to that. You are connected up to that. And then this just needs to chain along to a useful part of the belt. So you can go back to... Honestly, this chunk of the belt is fine, actually. So you are going to be read, hold all belts. So that's everything past this splitter up to that splitter. And at absolute max, it is 300. So we are going to say metallic asteroid chunk is greater than 280. Then you are going to output a full battery signal at 1, and then that full battery signal will go to here and enable disable full battery signal greater than 0. Oh, but you need to be not filtered, so you're enable disabled. So that is working. And okay, somehow the amount of iron ore on this belt has gone up. So that's kind of crazy. Oh, because it's using the other side now as well. Alright, sure. I guess that's fine. Okay, and we've run into an issue. Not enough ammo production. So what has been the limiting factor here? It is the electric furnaces. Yeah, so the electric furnaces are the limiting factor on ammo production here. So we're going to need more of those. Now, can I... How do I fix that? So, step 1 would be, if I just remove those, somehow this is the same. It's actually slightly lower per second. Alright, I didn't know that's how that worked. So you get speed modules, and you're up to 1.79 per second. So let's get these. As long as we seem to be doing fine on resources now. Are you stopped at novice? Yes, good. You can pause there. Alright, so this stuff all gets the speed modules, as do these last two. So that should be faster production of ammunition. And why is this second one hardly ever running? Yeah, so there's still item ingredient shortage. Is there anything we can do about that in the short term? Not really. The power demand is still fine, so that's still good. So the other thing we can do is we can take out some of these solar panels to make more space and get just more production in. So let's preemptively add another one of these. It's not going to be necessary at the moment because of the plate demands, but we have it now, and it's going to be a max speed moduled. So now we have 3 of these. At max speed modules, these are 3, 6, so this is like 33 iron plates per second that we can handle now, and we're getting 3, 6, 9. Yeah, okay, so we can go a whole lot crazier with these. So let's take out that chunk, and if we just copy paste you, flip you vertically. Alright, we actually need to, I think it'll be easier if that is rotated and then comes around this way. That pipe needs to get pushed off a little bit. And then you go up to there. Okay, these are facing the wrong way, because of course they are. Okay, I think I see some tech here, so we can... If we move these guys up to there, then they can influence more than just their one row. So we can do that. And now we are iron ore starved. Actually, at this point, do we just do more foundries? Do we have calcite? Yeah, we actually have calcite in this small area. Literally right there. So we're stopped at novice, right? Stopped at novice. Yes, alright. So let's just dismantle that whole thing and get a foundry in. So pretty sure we have access to foundries on novice still. Yeah, we got like 15 of them there. That's fine. So you are going to melt some ore. And then we are going to have another foundry here, which then casts that into plates. And this should be dramatically more efficient. So we can just get a couple of these guys in. Now it's going to burn power like crazy, but we're just going to have to deal with that. Let's take out those extras. Alright, so we need to get the iron plates in. So the iron plates are going to go up this way, or the iron ore rather. And then the calcite is going to come in from here. We might need to expand our supply of calcite, but I guess we'll figure that out when it comes to it. Alright, so this is like an extra 0.12 calcite, which is actually a significant chunk of the amount of calcite we're producing. Yeah, we might need to like speed module this or something like that. We'll work that out later. For now, novice is getting annoyed again. That's fine. We're just going to continue ignoring that until we have artillery to deal with it in a better manner. Alright, so you get that. I forgot that this doesn't need to extend all that way. And then we have output here, which goes up and in. Alright, so then these guys get their bulk inserters to do that. You get your bulk inserter to do that. Alright, so this is less than 12, which is still not great for this, but we can module them. So if these guys are all speed moduled, that's okay. That's going to take an insane amount of power, actually. Yeah, foundries with modules in them are kind of terrible. But this is 24 iron plates out, and we have more than enough molten iron to deal with it. Okay, so since that's the case, we can take some of those out. We need probably 3 of those and 1 efficiency module. Actually, is that fine? Yeah, that's probably fine. So now we're short on iron ore. which isn't terribly surprising. How much are you making? You're making 11 iron ore. And a tiny chunk of that's going here. Most of it is coming over to this. So it should be pretty close to full. But just in case, we can make you a productivity module and 3 of those. And we can also just outsource the speed modules to beacons if we want to be even more productive. Like we've done that over here. And it's gone pretty well. Alright, so you are output full. You guys are all output full. These guys are all output full. I guess the only way to tell is to get you running and see if the power demand becomes catastrophic or not. Okay, wait, actually, I lied. First, let's go back to here. Go back to Novice, and can you add a 30-second wait period? Thank you. I just need to drop off all these foundations that we have so that the other factory can get going. There you go. Alright. So that is off, and now we can look back on Novice itself, which we still have enough rockets, and we're mostly being limited by the stuff we want to put in the rockets, which in this case is the space platform foundations, which we now have enough of. Okay. So, we are... Currently, the problem is ice. Right? So we don't have any ice. We've got plenty of the other things, and not enough ice. Now, why is that? We're still stopped at Novice, so obviously the input isn't great. I guess we also have this stuff over here, which needs ice. And then we have the recycling. We might want to turn off one of the ice recyclers. I guess we'll have to get this actually moving and see what happens when there's enough supply to be meaningful, as opposed to just like one thing randomly showing up every so often. Alright, so that's going. Foundation Crafter is doing its thing. Epic Quality is researching at 40 science per minute, which is about what it's been for a while now, so that's fine. Alright, so speed is not incredible. We might still... Did I miscalculate how many ice cubes we need? That's like 2 ice cubes. No, we should be producing enough if we have enough input here, which we apparently don't. Alright, so we apparently don't have enough ice, although that might be changing now that we're sort of in the thick of things. The amount of asteroids is increasing a lot. Okay, this is still working properly, right? Yeah, that looks like it's still going fine. And this ice is now backlogging. That's good. I hope we don't need to set it up to not get stuck. Although I probably will, seeing how this is going as it is. Our iron production actually does barely fit on one side of the belt, I think, or at least most of it does. And the ammunition is holding up much better now. 2/3 of the way through, and we're still not out of our buffer. Although, to be fair, it is kind of getting there. It is somewhat having issues. And this one on the right is somewhat output full. So I guess we could get that fixed. So if we just have you like that, and you go into there. No, that doesn't work. Of course not. So then we're going to need to make you an underground pipe so that we have the room. And okay, that works. So now we're using both sides of the belt. We can get enough iron up here. And we're doing fine. So now we're stopped at Vulcanus. And we're just going to sit here for a couple minutes with maximum power efficiency. So that's good. We should have plenty of power production while we're here, even if we don't elsewhere. And this is starting to pile up. Did we ever set a limit on the amount of foundations that we can store? I don't think we did, and I don't think we need it. I think just filling up the inventory with those is fine, because this shouldn't really need... I mean, this is not like a transport ship that needs to be carrying other cargo. So that it should be fine just like that. Everything looks like it's working properly. So that's good. The wire is going strong. It looks like we don't have enough steel production. I'm seeing item ingredient shortages on the steel up here. And why is that? Fluid ingredient shortage. Okay. So these guys need bulk inserters. Oh yeah, obviously. 16. They might even need multiple bulk inserters. Let's give them multiple bulk inserters to keep up with that. It should be like 2/3 of a belt of iron at max rate, although I don't know if we actually need max rate out of the two. Alright, so that is going better. That is going better. And we are apparently heading back to Novice, where we can drop off several hundred of those. Meanwhile, Vulcanus support is just a couple of launches short of being done with the setup phase, and then we're going to need to worry about getting the ammo through to everywhere. And apparently that was placed backwards, so let's fix that. Probably done a similar thing over here. Yeah, so that then faces that way, and we get more ammo production actually running. Hopefully we have enough iron to make good progress on that. Okay. So that's getting built up. And we're just like a delivery and a half away, I think. And then obviously some of the extraneous things like the asteroid collectors. But yeah, we are basically there. And then we'll just have to set this guy running again and see what happens. So we have plenty of carbon. We have some sulfur, although not a huge amount. So the way this is split, do we want to give output priority left so that we get sulfur and carbon instead of just carbon? I think that's the better way of doing it. So let's get that split in. And alright, here come some belts with miscellaneous stuff for this. Okay, this stuff just does, we don't even need that. That's just extra. And we have 50 extra foundations on the way, which we don't need. And then it's just a delivery of asteroid collectors. And then we'll be good. So are these still... Yeah, we still have big reserves of all of the things that go into launching rockets. Which is pretty cool. I'm not sure when that happened. Last stream, we were constantly desperate for blue circuits, and then that just sort of stopped being an issue. Somehow. Just sort of magically. Alright, so we are getting those last couple of asteroid collectors to cover the back. And then... do we just send it? It's probably reckless to just send it. We should wait a little bit longer to build up ammunition stockpiles. But, I mean, just sending it will help build up the ammunition stockpiles, because we're at the point where we can't really do much more than this. Okay, these guys are output full. Let's give them bulk inserters just so that they have those. Alright, so yeah, now we're at the point where it's just like anytime a metallic asteroid happens to come along is when we're producing new ammo, which is not spectacularly efficient, especially considering this is using furnaces instead of foundries, so we're a lot less resource efficient there. But the right side of ammo is almost backlogged. The left side of the ammo is absolutely cooked because it's like 5 times as long for whatever reason. Because I put the ammo all on the right side of the factory. Okay. Now how is the ice production? I'd expect to see more of that. We actually have a lot of coal. Alright, so it has been working. The ice has been the limiting factor, but it is showing up every so often and then instantly getting popped across to coal. So that's fine. Hopefully supplies will be better once we're moving, which, I don't know, it would be so reckless to start going now. Okay, we can do a little bit of a fake out. So we're gonna start moving just to increase the asteroid spawn rate. And then we're just gonna, once we have a lot of asteroids on screen, we're just gonna drift back to novice and then just let it calm down a bit. So that should help. So off we go, picking up asteroids. Lots of the chunks at this point. And the ammunition is going. So the iron, which is what we need for the ammo, doesn't get used in this. So we shouldn't have any problems with ammo production being distracted by all the coal production. So that should be fine. Alright, so that's going. And so the iron is also used for that. This... okay. We might have a problem with our chemical plants down here. We are not seeing any carbon. Why is that? Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, that's fine. You need to stop being a thing. Alright, so you get disabled because we're doing the coal stuff over there now. These guys don't need to exist. So this is like 2-ish carbon. We need like 4-ish. Okay, that should actually be fine. We should actually have enough carbon there. And we're just gonna let... No, let's just dismantle those since we don't need them. Save some of the passive power. And yeah, the engine isn't even working at this point, so we are just gonna be drifting back to Novice. Which is a bit of a nuisance. Okay, so this... At least we're producing ammo in the meantime. And we do need these carbon asteroids to make their way over. And only like half of them are going over this way, which might be a concern. Let's get these massive rows of splitters out. So that all goes away. And now we can make some carbon, which goes in here to get the engines running once more. Although it's going to be a bit of a short burst. Unless we can get a more stable supply. Okay, a power pole was destroyed on Novice. Is that going to cause like a cascade failure? No. Although we seemingly absolutely do need more stuff in that area. This is all single walled, which is not really good enough at this point. So let's get a couple of you guys in. Okay, so this is still sort of getting stuck on the way back and forth between Vulcanus and Novice because of fuel issues. Alright, do we need to do something to make sure more carbon goes over this way? I don't think so. Once we're moving at a decent speed, we should have more carbon asteroids than we could ever possibly know what to do with. That's my experience, at least. So it shouldn't be a major issue. Meanwhile, the ammunition stockpiling is going pretty well. We're like half of the way there. To go there, all the way up to there, and then we have to get all the way over to here before the ammunition is truly stockpiled. But it should be fine. Okay, do we need this sulfur for absolutely anything? No, we don't. You can become regular carbonic asteroid crushing. And all of you can do that. And you don't need to be speed moduled now, because we're going to have way more than enough. Yeah, we only need like one of these, actually. Just like this one produces 5.5 and we need like 4. So let's take some more extraneous crushers out to save some space. And we might productivity module the one that we're using. Yeah, let's do that. So that's 4.8. We need 4. So that should be good enough. Alright, so yeah, now the engines should be running pretty comfortably with all that extra stuff. Although it's immediately stopped, so I guess we just got lucky with a couple in a row. We are slowly moving, though. We're very slowly making it. We're almost 1,000 kilometers away. Yeah, we are now 1,000 kilometers away. Thruster fuel is still a bit unstable. This is 120 a second. And these guys should be more than enough if they were running at full speed, which they are not. Alright. It looks like we're doing fine. You really just need to get into the part of space that has more. You're like, yeah, okay, now we're starting to see medium asteroids. So just shooting one of those should give us all the carbon that we need for days. Alright, this one, if you're gonna, please medium carbonic asteroid, get within range of my guns. Yes, there we go. Okay, but they're not within range of the asteroid collectors. So that's just wasted. But it looks like the general just passive supply is starting to get up there. And hopefully the ammo supply can keep up. It should. We've got 3 of these guys going. And we're still not going terribly fast. But we now have a carbon backlog there. And look at all that coal. Alright. Absolute chaos on Novice, as usual. The drones get massacred trying to repair these walls out here. Alright. They've gotten all the repairs that they need in, mostly. So yeah, that just happens whenever 2 attacks come, like, one right after the other. Yeah, you know, it's tragic for the poor drones, but this is why we have, like, 6,000 spare. And speaking of which, I should probably stop producing more, because, like, we seriously just need to stop wasting resources on that. So you are gonna get your inputs disabled, because yeah, it's probably a bit of a waste of resources to just have that constantly going when we have so many spare. So that is that. Vulcanist support. Alright, seems like the ammo backlog is basically just at a comfortable rate now, although the speed seems to have failed again. Why is that? We aren't getting enough water. Okay, our ice cube supply isn't good enough. How are we getting like 0 ice cubes in this entire half of the planet? How is that possible? Oh, is it because... Are we recycling them all before we get there? We might be recycling all the ice cubes before they even make it in. That's... Although, this is like the majority of the area, so that shouldn't be the case. Alright. I mean, it is occasionally going still, but I guess step 1 would be you get productivity moduled. And then, how much water do we need? That gives us like 40. Alright, so we have like 40 water production there. We have like 40 water demand. So, we have a couple of spare beacons, right? Yeah, we do. So, let's see if we can... Okay, yeah, we can squeeze a beacon in here. And you can do speed beacons so that these guys can get productivity modules and still keep up with the demand. So now that's way more water than we need, and this is going to be able to use all the ice cubes on the planet. Alright, so hopefully that little bit of added efficiency should solve the problem. We can also productivity module some of these guys a little bit, if that becomes an issue. Okay, I think this can actually... We can stop that. So this isn't doing what it was in terms of inputting a billion chunks of sulfur in. So now we can just let this, yeah, we can actually just disconnect this whole thing. Except for this machine, which apparently needs access to carbon. Okay, yeah, let's just rework that whole area. And have you go like that. So that should keep the supply of carbonic asteroids from getting used quite so much. Which, I don't know, it'll help very marginally more carbonic asteroids get around here to... Oh, we aren't actually doing recycling of those. Right, because we need them all for the coal. But yeah, so that'll be marginally more efficient for that purpose. Then we just need to figure out where all the ice is supposed to be. Okay, there's a couple big asteroids there, and we seem like we are... getting there. Yeah, so we are building up a bit of an ice backlog, very small, but technically existing. And if that's true, then the water supplies should be going up. And yeah, so now that we're moving, we're not having issues anymore. So the issue we seem to be having now is a lack of sulfur. Which, did I do the math wrong? Maybe. And also apparently this, maybe 1,000 coal just wasn't even enough, a big enough number. Because this is definitely got more than enough space. So let's set this up to 2,000 coal, just because apparently it's a sort of trivial amount of space with the amount of cargo bays we have. And then we need to figure out what's wrong with the sulfur supply. Okay, why are you saying your output full? Oh, because I'm dumb, that's why. Those are set to coal and not carbon. Okay, so that is an obvious issue, which we can now just copy paste this all the way across and get it all functional again. There we go. So we just have to copy paste this. I could probably save a lot of time by copy pasting in larger chunks, but I'm sort of too far in now. We're almost at the bottom. Okay, this one just straight up didn't have any settings, which I suppose I'm lucky that it hasn't broken anything with the recycled asteroid chunks. Alright, so that's all set up. And now we're running. Oh, I forgot that I needed to... Okay, I think actually I didn't. It was very borderline whether this needed to be the faster belts or not. Can't remember what I figured out it needed to be. It was like... Because it was like 33 plus 12 point something, so it's like 45 point... It's 45 point something. So we do actually... Hang on. That means we need to use both sides of the belt, which we're not doing currently. So, we need to get like halfway, like here-ish. Okay, we need to figure out how to do this without wasting any space, because we do not have much room in this area. We do not have much room at all. Okay, so we go back here. We might have to remove a crusher. Yeah, we might have to remove a crusher and place it somewhere else. So you go out. Then this goes underground for that duration. And then now we have plenty of space. So you go in like that. You go up to there and across into there. And that should be... well, it'll be a lot better anyways. Alright, why are you headed immediately back to Novice? No, you go back here. You go back to Vulcanus. Because we need to set up to drop the coal off, which I thought I'd already done. Oh, I never set the request in here. So you get a request for like all the coal in the world from there. And that should do it. So you are here, and there goes a lot of coal. And that should keep Vulcanus busy for a while. Okay, so that is... the low battery thing isn't active. Although it probably should be. So now it looks like iron is going to be... metallic asteroids are going to be the thing that we need to cycle out of. And let's set that to like 20 or something, so it's not literally 0. Alright. So that is going. And I think we just make those guys both do iron recycling as well, just double speed that. And then we can find a spot to do like 1 ice recycling in here, where we should have plenty of space. Alright, we can take out 1. That area is still more than covered. So you have some oxide asteroid reprocessing, which is going to go down into here and be input priority right. And then you just take from there. Alright, so now we have a little bit of oxide asteroid reprocessing, but mostly iron reprocessing, which is the thing we need the most. So hopefully that is that. Alright, so you're still stopped at Vulcanus. And now, if we go down to Vulcanus, we can see that this is doing its thing, giving us like most of a belt of coal for now. And now let's just get another one in, just to see if we can get like a full half belt, or if we're gonna run out of coal super fast. I think we're just gonna run out of coal super fast, but that's fine. I don't remember why I set those up. They don't seem effective, but whatever. Alright, so that, I mean, for the short duration that it works, is a big chunk of coal. So that should get things moving again, at least to some extent. So we have plastic, we're making red circuits. Alright, so that is going. Meanwhile, this still has enough metallic asteroids that it's not going to leave immediately. Although, okay, so now we have the sulfur is all backlogged, which I suppose makes sense. So we just need you, but then we need to stop you. And you need to just scan this area, and you are going to be enable disable if sulfur is greater than... Okay, you need to be read belt contents, hold all belts. And unfortunately, it doesn't say what the number is. So we're apparently... Okay, yeah, so the number is 613. So you need to enable if that is greater than, like, let's just say 600. And turn your filter off. So that is going to keep that going. And, okay, so it's prioritizing taking from one side, so we need a slight redo on how that works then. So you need to go out to like there, and you need those on both sides. And that gets filled in as well. Okay, so then you guys need to get filtered down while I set you up. And you get set to that. Hold all belts. And you can enable while sulfur is greater than like 600. And then we paste that across. Turn your whitelists off. And alright, so now these guys are not running because there's not that much sulfur in here, which should let the whole thing work properly, unless this gets too unbalanced. And we're losing pipes on Novice. Why are we losing pipes on Novice? Alright. The biters are down here. Well, let's get some laser turrets placed in. Okay. There were already laser turrets in the general area, and problem has been dealt with. Alright, let's get laser turrets along here, just for the future, and give them some very lazy walls to protect them. So hopefully that won't happen again. Alright, so Vulcanist support is... Okay, so the problem is that this, like, still... It still uses both sides of the belt, but not necessarily evenly. So we need to, like, remove that whole segment, bring you back down, and yeah, I don't know how to do this actually, because do we need to just force the sulfur onto one side of the belt at some point? Like in here maybe? So that we can have a consistent value for it? Or do we just have to know that it's mostly going to be on the left side of the belt and then just set these numbers a lot lower? So if we set those to 300 each, then they're going to take all that stuff out, and theoretically it should be fine because we have enough. Alright, so now this is balanced down to like there-ish, and it should be set. And we might have to do something similar with the carbon, unless the carbon is the limiting factor, which it looks like it might be. Okay, yeah, so this is actually not gonna work. So we need to actually take these guys out. So the problem is that we need the sulfur to backlog to some extent, in order for the balancing to work... No, in order for the balancing to work, both this and this need to be getting enough... They need to be getting enough asteroid chunks. Alright, so for first thing, let's get you in so I don't have to be controlling all these guys manually every single time. Just have one centralized location where you are going to be set, and let's set you to low. Let's set that, and we actually need to get that to be greater than 0. Alright, so then you read from there, and you're going to say if coal is greater than, like, I don't know, 10k, then you output that. Oh wait, but these are now disabled, so it just has to be less than. Alright, so unless we have a truly insane amount of coal in here, it should be perfectly happy to just keep picking it up. And that is fine. So ideally we would end up with a backlog of these guys, and then it would all work. But it looks like we aren't getting enough asteroids, which means we might need to expand this just for the sake of expanding it, or just get the filters going faster. Let's see if we can just get the filters going faster and if that will help. So we need to take that whole chunk, flip you vertically like that. Does this work? No, because the belts are facing the wrong way, so you need to also be flipped horizontally. And you go into there, and then we're going to need to rerun that belt. And then we can take these guys out, because we don't need a second line of defense in there. Oh wait, no, that belt was important. That inserter was part of what we were doing here. Alright. So now we have a little bit more iron recycling. And we can fit even more over here maybe. But hopefully that will be enough. We're recycling a decent amount of iron at this point. Okay, so currently we're stopped at Novice. How long do we wait there? Just like 60 seconds? Okay. Nothing too crazy. And then we head back. Foundation Crafter has most of an entire inventory full of foundations. So that is a huge success right there. So we don't really need to worry about our supply of foundations anymore. We just need to worry about physically getting them onto things. Okay, so then the next thing we need to do is we need to get this all sorted out. Although actually, hang on, let me think. If this is going to backlog, we're going to get our excess of carbon asteroids that I wanted, and then we'll get carbon going through here, which will then use this sulfur and get this going. So this might actually just work the way it does. The way it is right now might actually just be functional. I'm not sure, but it's possible. Can the thrusters be overclocked? I doubt it. I might want more speed, because I think more speed means we'll get more asteroids per second or whatever. Alright, Foundation Crafter is going along nicely. No obvious problems here. The ammunition is going well. Vulcanus support is making its way back to Vulcanus, and yeah, so the significant delay times between when it shows up is sort of like the major problem here. But as long as its storage of coal can be high enough, it should be fine. So let's go to here and set this to, like, I don't know, some insanely large number. Just make sure that you always accept all the coal that we're willing to give you. And then we're going to have to wait and see if this backlogging strategy actually works the way that I want it to, which is probably going to take a bit of time where this isn't producing. But if it does, then that would be quite cool. Because then it would all be balanced properly, despite how somewhat hideous it looks right now. And if all it takes is a massive stockpile of carbonic asteroids, then that's fine. Okay. We're not getting that much excess asteroids, though. Like, the belts are staying relatively empty, which is concerning. We do ultimately need the belts to... We need the belts to fill up and preferably stay full for storage reasons. So yeah, I think we might actually need to, like, make this wider just so that we catch more asteroids for no other reason. And if we're doing that, we might find some other production stuff to stick on, but I don't know if that's even a good idea, considering that would just sort of defeat the purpose of having more asteroids caught if we're using more of them anyways. So the other thing is that there is this asteroid productivity research, which we can do more of, and that will help. Like, once we get a couple more of those researches in, then this should be a lot easier. Alright. Yeah, so this, I mean, this looks like a more or less just a success. We're gonna need this to backlog just a little bit more. It's actually almost there, and it's going pretty quick. Although it'll slow for a little bit when we stop at Vulcanus. Okay, so the other thing I need to do with the Foundation Crafter is I need to go over to here and I need to add, like, a lot of space platform foundations into this. So let's add, like, let's add a demand of like 2,000 of them. Alright, so that is in. And how much do we have currently? We currently have no space platform foundations in logistics storage, which definitely is not correct, so I don't know why it says that. Alright, but now I think let's limit you. So we don't want to turn you completely off, just in case we need the extra production. But we also don't want you wasting all of our stuff, and we can do the same thing over here. So you can just, like, fill up your buffers and then stop producing more, and that will be less steel and copper used. Alright, so over here we have... Yeah, so now we have a ton of ice asteroids going. So, bare minimum speed module U. And we might need to add more in. But the system does seem to have balanced more or less. So we have them coming in on both sides, and it looks like this side is getting them less than the other, but we are getting a good supply of carbon out of there, which means we're getting a supply of sulfur out of here. And everything seems to be working. So this is going to be a relatively small supply of coal, but still not bad at all. And then future runs should be much, much better, as this should be running around the clock. Alright, there goes all that coal. Down to Vulcanus, where we are going to get, 1,200 on the way. Alright. We're going to figure out how much we need, and it's probably going to be we need to get an insane amount per trip in order to keep up. Possibly even enough that we need an entire, like, massive upgrade to get it going. But, for now at least, that's another chunk of coal, which means more production here. So there we go. And then the Vulcanist support is going to wait here for a little bit. And okay, now this needs to be set to oxide asteroid chunks in order to wait properly. Wait, Foundation Crafter just took damage. How did that happen? Is that a dead zone, or are we facing unexpected difficulties here? So you're stopped at Vulcanus. That needs to be an and. That's possibly part of what happened. You were just running too frequently. So yeah, we need to never leave until we have all of our supplies ready to go. And I hope that enough of this stuff is going into that to make it work. We are about to fill up the Foundation Crafter. So that's pretty cool. But it is having ammunition difficulties. It seems to have refilled them mostly. Yeah, okay, so it's refilling pretty quick. And with our fixed that done, we should be fine. Okay, why is this not doing anything? Because of calcite shortage, because this has failed like I thought that it would. Alright, that's fine. We just need to take this belt over to there. And then down to there. So you need an output, which we're going to filter real quick. And then, how do we do this? We need... Did this work? Yeah, so this is how we've done this the previous time. So you go into there. You're going to output to you. And you're going to take your information from there, where you are going to share the information about all your belts. And that needs to actually connect up, which I apparently failed to do. So if ice is greater than 100, then you are going to output a signal which you will then read So you enable if that is greater than 0. And then we take the filter out. And so that drains out the ice. And then... Okay. I feel like we did that wrong. So I feel like that's let this get too low now. So you're showing like 80 some. So yeah, we probably need this to be like 150 at least. And we need to hope we don't run out of ice. Alright, you just set off on a trip. I guess that's fine because it is currently functional. We're going to need to get more asteroids in. And our asteroid consumption should drop off of a cliff now. Now that this is backlogging. Although we're going to dump most of these back down onto Novice and start going again. But I guess we'll have to see what happens when this fully backlogs. At some point that'll happen. It might be soon. Alright, so this is going. Our ice supply is fine, I guess. It's not enough actually, but I guess we just need more ice rocks, which we should get as we do recycling and everything. Okay, meanwhile, back over on Vulcanist support, everything is going fine as usual. How's the power demand? Power demand is fine. Got a decent chunk of spare capacity. Alright, so that should be okay. Foundation crafter should be okay. Yeah, so now we're getting ice cubes out, and we want to see how far back do we want this to stockpile? Probably just all the way, or like as far back as it can possibly go without causing issues, which we're gonna have to figure out how much that is. Alright. This far is probably good enough. So like 160 should be fine. Yeah, let's set this to 160. Alright, so that should be fine now. And this is also working, and it gets first dibs, but we are using more calcite than usual, so we're not getting enough down to here. So you need to be speed moduled probably. So we speed module you, that gives us 0.7 calcite, which is, that's like 0.36. That's like 0.36. And that brings it up to like 0.9. Alright, we might need even more. Okay, foundation crafter. Not enough storage space. And how has this all gone wrong so quickly? It was fine like 5 seconds ago. What the heck? We were actually totally fine like 5 seconds ago, and now everything has exploded. Why? So because you're not getting enough calcite. Okay, we need to pause you at Novice where you're safe, and then we're gonna have to figure out how to deal with potentially those issues. So this should be fine now. Novice is safe, so we're gonna have to do some repairs. But we should get there eventually. Although the repairs are actually going to be hard if we can't get all the foundations out. Although it seems like Seems like we are able to get the foundations out. But let's limit this. Alright, so you need to just scan that and enable disable if space platform foundations are greater than like 2.5. You probably can't type it that way. You probably have to actually type in all the zeros. 2.5k. Oh, and this has to be less than because it has to be disabled. Alright, so that should give us some amount of space for that. And that's going well. Asteroid supply is looping around. Ice cube supply is actually a bit inconsistent at this point. We need more ice. And we're not wasting any of the ice, right? So that's probably fine. We've got those two over there making 0.8, which is just about good enough for these two. Our steel is probably about to backlog. We are very, very nearly full with that. We're going to have to see what happens to this when the foundation production side of things backlogs. So I'm not at all confident about what'll happen there. Alright, so now we have plenty of foundations here on planet. And Vulcanist support, meanwhile, is still just doing great. It's got a giant chunk of coal, and it's bringing it over. As Vulcanist has been able to make a new rocket, which unfortunately is the science rocket, although you're set to automatic requests, so I think that doesn't actually do science. Okay, so that's good. Speaking of Vulcanist science, actually, how much of that stuff do we have? The answer is like over 10,000. So that should last us for a decent chunk of time at least. And hopefully we can get some of these tungsten plates so that we can have those launching and get artillery back on Novice. Okay, so Foundation Crafter. We have this. But I think... yeah, so you still aren't enough even if you were getting enough ice. So we need more ice cubes up here. Power situation is fine. We just need more oxide asteroid processing and more oxide asteroids themselves. Alright, so this gives us 0.7. What if we... is this going to fit? It's just barely going to not fit, I think. A beacon up here. Yes, that's not going to fit, and there's nothing we can really do to make that fit because this hub is unmovable and this is all a giant mess, which would take forever. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to somehow make some room somewhere. That whole system is necessary to do what it's doing. That's all backlogging as it should be. Where are all the... so a lot of the ice asteroids are getting converted, but they should only be converted after their first pass. I think that's still probably too late. So let's get you down, and then we're gonna need one, right? Okay, but you can't productivity module that recipe, which makes perfect sense. So we're down to one of these. Hopefully that will be enough. And we're gonna need more of this stuff. Alright, so we have this processing over here, which makes a bunch of ice cubes and calcite. So we can actually... And we also have space to expand this if needed. Like, we can potentially just shove these guys over a little bit to put a beacon in. Yeah, let's do that. So you are over there now. You are over there. And then that gets in. And we get a beacon. So you are set for advanced oxide, as are you. Both of you get your efficiency modules, and then you get your speed modules. Alright, so we have this. Now, the complicated part here is that this is the part where you filter out the ice cubes, which... Can we do that earlier? Maybe. Can we just bring this belt around? So if we go like up through there, across that area, and then across there, yeah, it should be possible. So that has to get cut out. Then this has to run underground a couple levels. More somewhat boring stuff happening on Novice. Alright, so you need to go underground so that this has space to go out. Which I built that wrong, but whatever. Okay, then you need to go underground, which... Actually, you just need to stay underground longer. Like, up to there, maybe. And we get that set. Okay, so now this can run over here. And... Okay, now this is in the way. Because of course it is. But we can make you like that so that you don't go forwards. And then this can come up here and... Why is there steel on this belt? I think that was just a one-off incident caused by us being connected to that belt. Alright, now it's easy. Now we just have to go up here, move those solar panels. We'll probably rebuild them somewhere. And we just need this to connect into here, which, now that I'm saying that, is actually not trivial. Okay. So we can have you go down like that, and that frees up that space. And then you can go down like that, which frees up that space, and probably means we're going to have to figure out again how much space that needs. And now you can come across and loop into there. Alright. Additional calcite supplied. We want this to be... No, we don't want output priority. We want input priority right, I think. Okay. So now that that is in, why is this not working? Because I've somehow managed to make that go backwards. Okay. So now we do that. And we can use all of those. Alright, so our supply of calcite should be much more stable now. We can even get in another one of these with speed modules just to make absolutely sure that this is going to be enough calcite. And then we probably need to compensate for those solar panels that we removed. So let's copy paste that, and that did not work at all. So we copy all of that, and then we just paste it in, not holding all the keywords so that it can just go in like that. Wait, no, this is wrong. We need to leave a little bit of room for... Actually, we don't need to. That doesn't do anything, so we can just fill that area in. Not like we have any shortage of foundations on this particular space platform. So that is all covered in. And now we just want to get some more of these guys in. Like that. And that should compensate for the solar panels I removed in the process. Probably more than compensate for it even. And if it doesn't, let's add another 3 in there and another chunk up here. Alright, so that's fine, and now we're just out of solar panels, which is also good. Alright. So that is that. And now we should be all clear, assuming that the actual production of calcite and everything is enough. So if we're not getting enough oxide asteroids in total, then this is going to be a problem. But assuming that we are, then it should be fine. And we only have like one recycler up there, so we shouldn't have problems with oxide asteroids. Okay, so this needs to be recalibrated a little bit. So you need to be set down to like 150. Alright, so that deals with that. And alright, we should be clear to set you back going again. And you're very low on asteroids, so you kind of need it. Let's add a weight condition. Pause. Let's add a weight condition just so you're not traveling more than you need to. Because technically while you're traveling, you're not actively available. So, and that is less than 2,000. So if we've used up all of our platforms, then we will leave. And if not, then we're fine just staying here, not doing anything until we have. Alright, I think that is that. So we've made good progress there, and the Vulcanist support platform is making a trip back. Did it get any supplies? Maybe there was cliff explosives, but probably not. Alright, so yeah, Vulcanist now has actually some rockets waiting to launch. So we should be able to get our supply of tungsten back over to Novice. Which is probably just going to require messing around with some of those. But I think we're going to wrap up the stream there. So thanks everyone for hanging out. I had a lot of fun. We've made a lot of progress. We finally have semi-decent space infrastructure set up. The last thing we need to do is we need, well, maybe not need, but would greatly prefer some space platforms, probably just one space platform, that deals with the ability to launch rockets directly. So if we can just make blue circuits, low density structures, and rocket fuel in space, then we can just never have to worry about local production getting stranded that much like what happened with Vulcanus here. So that would be very cool. So yeah, we'll do that next time. Tomorrow we'll be doing Satisfactory, and that'll be that. So I'll be back in Factorio on Friday. So thanks everyone for hanging out. I stream every weekday from 2 to 5 Eastern Time, so make sure to follow if you haven't already. And I